Hello guys, welcome to Online Web Tutor. I am Sanjay. We are learning Laravel 8 framework tutorial. This is our part number 8. Inside this video session guys, we will discuss about Bleed, a Laravel template engine, and basically this is our first part inside this Bleed templating engine. And also guys, if you are looking up the blog articles of PHP 4, CodeIgniter 4, MySQL, Node.js, WordPress, then you can visit this blogging website. Inside this blogging website we have several different articles. Now if I back to browser, go at the blogging website called onlinewebtutorblog.com, and this is the new layout of this blogging website. Inside this we can find all about categories, so we have all these categories. If I scroll down, we can see that we have the latest blog post, and recently we have posted all these articles. You can see we have PHP 4 article, Laravel 8, CodeIgniter 4, and several many more. You can find all the blogs after clicking on this menu item, or you can simply click on this button. So back to the point. So inside this video we will discuss about Bleed template engine. So first of all, before I'm going to understand all about the details about Bleed, first we need to understand that what is Bleed in Laravel. So in very simple statement, Bleed is a template engine. It means a template engine which is going to parse the PHP tags and convert into own respective syntaxes of PHP. If I open a new tab, as we have seen in the last video that how can we call a view file. Inside that view file we have passed data. Now again if I back to editor, go inside this app, or simply go inside this resources, views, and if I click on this service.bleed.php, and inside this view file we can see that this is the syntax to print any value, like double curly pairs, and inside this we have written a variable. And if we look into the name of this file, then we have services.bleed.php. Now back to slide. So as we know that to print any value in PHP, this is our syntax. Here we need to write echo, and after that we need to write the variable name. But inside this Laravel 8 means inside Laravel we have the Bleed template engine, and inside this the similar architecture of the template engine syntax we can use, and this is with the double curly pairs, and simply inside that we can use the variable name. So just think about that, this is a syntax which is quite long, and this is a syntax which is very simple to print any value. So when we use these type of syntaxes in our template engine, automatically behind the scene it parses this syntax, convert into PHP tag, and run our application execution programs. So this is Laravel Bleed template engine. Also, in place of all the loops, like we have something if else loop, switch cases, we have for each loop, for loop. So inside this Bleed syntaxes we use directives. We will understand step by step about each concept. So first of all, what is Bleed? Bleed is a template engine in Laravel which is going to convert or its own syntaxes actually to parse these syntaxes, and behind the scene it converts into this PHP tag. Now if I back to editor, in the last video we already know about something, how to call a view file, how to pass data inside a view file. So inside this video we will understand something more inside this Bleed syntaxes. Now go to this app, open up any controller. So before opening any controller, first we need to make a route. Go to routes.php, let's say web.php, and inside this welcome what I will do, simply let's say about us, and here inside this route simply let's say about us. So we need to create this file. Back to resources, views, and already we have a file. So get rid of that. And here we have a simple h1 element which is going to print a message something welcome to about us page. Back to browser, open up the route called about-us, and I think we have some error, and error is at calling this view file because about-us does not exist. Instead we have called about.blade.php. Save this file, go and reload that, and it's working. So first of all, again from the starting, let's see that how can we pass a data. Simply if I pass my name here, so this is our name, this is the variable which we are passing inside this view file to receive this value. Simply we have received, and to print we are going to use these curly pairs, and inside this we have simply written the variable name. Save this file, go and reload this page, and we are getting our value. Keep in mind, we haven't used all about PHP tags. This is the syntax of this Blade template engine, which is going to behind the scene converts these curly pairs into PHP tag and execute this program. As you know, inside HTML we have a syntax to declare our comments, and this is something if I write h3 tag, here we have some sample message, and if we want to make comment of this line, simply exclamation double hyphen and end with double hyphen. This is the HTML syntax to do comments inside view files. But keep in mind, if we are using a PHP tag, and inside this PHP tag, let's say we have some value, and in some cases if we want to make this variable as a comment, simply we can use a single line comment, or we can use double line, or let's say multi-line comment. This is the syntax of multi-line comment, and this is used as a single line comment. But keep in mind, we are using Blade syntax, so here we have a different syntax for commenting. So instead of using this single line, multi-line, what I will use, get rid of this syntax, and here again we will use doubly curly pairs, and inside this curly pairs start with double hyphen and end with double hyphen. Inside this, let's say that this is a comment line. Now if we save, back to browser, reload this page, and as we can see that we are not getting that message inside this output screen because this is a comment line. Now in PHP, as you know that if we want to execute some programs like echo, something let's say 1 plus 1, it prints some value, something like 2 here. But inside this Blade syntax, as we know that we have curly pair syntax, so we can execute our program something like this. It calculates the value something 1 plus 1 equal to 2 and print that. Now back to browser, reload this page, and as we can see that we are getting our value. So we can actually do all types of calculation inside this curly pairs as well. Instead, we can use PHP functions as well. Let's say that we want to convert a string from lowercase to uppercase. So as we know that inside PHP, str to upper is a function. So how can we use? Simply define a curly pairs, and inside this we are going to use str to upper. This is a PHP function which is going to convert a string into uppercase. So inside this, if I type the channel name, save this file, go here, And what I will do, let's wrap into this HTML element, save these changes, go and reload this page, and we are getting our string value into uppercase. So inside this curly pairs, inside this bleed syntax, we can use to print actually the variable values. We can do any type of comment, we can perform any mathematical operations, and also we can use and execute PHP functions. So all these things we had discussed. Now get rid of that. Let's say that we want to use control structure inside bleed syntax. Control structure, it means we are going to use if else like for loop, for each loop, switch cases, and many more. And before going into that, as we know, we have two more PHP functions like itSet and let's say empty. How can we use? So first, before use into the syntax of template engine, if we go inside this PHP tag, we use like itSet to check that any variable is set inside application or not. If it is set, then we simply print the value something like name. Otherwise we don't do anything, or we can use even else block to say that this value is not set. But inside this bleed syntax, how can we use this itSet function? Simply go here, we need to use directive, simply write the PHP function name, and inside this simply pass the variable. So this is a directive because we have used @ symbol. So when we use anything and if I write @ symbol in front of that, it means that it is a directive in Laravel. So here we have used inside PHP, this is syntax, but inside Laravel we have used a directive. So simply we can pass this name variable, what we had done here. Simply inside that, go here to print that value, simply write the variable name, and the variable name we have called name here. Go here, and finally we need to end this directive. So simply @ and we need to write and itSet. All we have done. So this is our bleed syntax to check or using itSet function of PHP. Now if we are talking about let's say empty, as we know that we have one more function which is going to check the empty value. It's a PHP function. Inside this, if suppose we have a variable and we want to check that inside this variable we have any specific value, or let's say it contains an empty value. So for that we use empty function. So inside this Laravel template syntax, simply we need to use as a directive. So @empty, inside this we need to pass our variable name, and simply we need to end this directive. So end and empty here, and inside this let's print this value something name, and it means that we are checking this variable with empty function, and if it is empty then go inside and print that. Also, instead of echo or printing this variable, if we want to write let's say this variable is empty, all we have done. So this is the way to use all the PHP functions inside this. Also we know that we have a count function. Let's say if count, and here we have something like a array, let's say names equal to, and inside this we have some names. Let's say that these are the names, and if we want to count the number of elements inside this array, simply we can pass inside this count function. So if count, let's name, if greater than 0. So here we are checking that the number of elements of this names variable. So if it is greater than 0, simply let's say in PHP number of elements inside this array is greater than 0. So inside bleed syntax, how actually we can write? Go inside this web.php. Let's say that this is an array. So we are going to pass from this calling view file syntax. So let's say names, and here we are passing this array. Get rid of this variable. So simply while calling this view file, we are sending a variable, and inside this variable we are sending a names array back to the view file. And as we know that this variable does not exist, so get rid of that. And also this time we are going to use an array. So we are going to use the count function. So we need to use a directive symbol. So at the rate, simply let's say count, and this is the names variable we are actually getting from this file. Go here, but before using this function, as we know that we need to use a if condition, so get rid of that. Let's if a directive symbol if, and inside this let's say count, and here we have the names array. If it is greater than 0, here we need to write names actually. So names, and inside this is and if, and of the directive, and let's say that the same message if we copy and pasting it here. So these are the syntaxes guys actually we can use inside bleed template. So far we had discussed all about printing a simple value, what are the logical symbols actually to do mathematical calculation, how can we use PHP functions, as we had seen some directives. Now let's say that if we want to use if else condition, so if I get rid of all these lines, let's say in PHP we have something if, here we have value, let's say I equal to 0, and let's say that if I equals to 0, so if I equals to 0, let's say echo I equal to 0. Now here we have the else block, or if we want then we can use another condition using if else if, means else if block. So here inside this we can use another condition, let's say equals to 1, and inside this we can say another message for it, so let's say I equals to 1. Now this syntax is different inside our bleed syntax. So how can we write? Simply go here, we need to use if, and inside this simply let's say we are checking the value of I. So here I equals to 0. No need to open curly pairs, simply go here, and if we are using only if, so here we need to write and if. And also if we are using suppose if else block, so here we need to write else directive. So if I equals to 0, here we have some statement like this is if block, and simply this is else block. If suppose we are using else if another block here, so go here and simply write else if, and this is, let's say this is else if block. So this is the bleed syntax to use if else block inside code. So same goes for each, let's say switch cases. If we are discussing about for loop, simply let's say as we know inside PHP for syntax we have a for function. Inside this let's say I equals to 0 semicolon, here we need to write conditions, so I greater than 5, and the another we need to use the increment, and inside this we need to write some statement or we can print that value. So this is the syntax in PHP actually we can use. So inside this Laravel template engine, simply we need to use the functions in terms of directives. So here we have @for, and inside this we need to write the same syntax. So copy, go here, and we need to enter this directive. So and keyword and the function. So and for, and inside this, if we want to write only the value of I, simply let's say I here. So these are the syntaxes, guys, actually we can use inside Bleed template. So in the next video we will continue this Bleed syntax template, and also we will see some more different concepts. So inside this video session, guys, if you went out, then please drop your comment. I will give my reply as soon as possible. So for this video session, guys, thank you for watching and have a great day.